What is up, guys? Today, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 1. It's late in the morning, I got my cup of coffee, let's get into it. The first thing I really liked about this show is the pacing. After finishing the season, I went back and looked at the episodes individually and realized that they could be broken up into three main categories: exposition, main episodes, and filler episodes. There's really not too much to say about the exposition episodes, which are episode 1 and 2. The plot is set up, and we get to know a little bit about our mysterious character. Other than that, they're pretty basic, and they kind of just give us a feel for the show. The second category are what I call the main episodes, the important ones, the ones that really move the plot along. For me, these were episodes 3, 7, and 8. Episode 8 was definitely my favorite episode of the season. I just thought it was a really great way to bring things full circle, to wrap up the kind of subplot created in episode 1 while still leaving us in anticipation for season 2. Seeing the Darksaber was an amazing callback to the Clone Wars. I know many people might consider it to be unnecessary fan service, but to me it actually makes a lot of sense considering that the Darksaber has traditionally been a Mandalorian blade, and the show is about a Mandalorian. So I thought that was pretty cool, and kind of hyped me up even more for Season 2. Speaking of fan service, though, there were a couple lines in Episode 5 that were blatantly obvious, almost offensive examples of fan service. The first one, and I've only seen these episodes once, so I might not be quoting him exactly correctly, but the Mandalorian says something about he has the high ground, and maybe that was unintentional. It probably was, because it actually kind of made sense in the moment, but it still kind of brought me back to Revenge of the Sith, and maybe that's just because I'm so used to seeing that and using that myself as a meme. So I'll let that one slide, but there was one that was really bad, where the Mandalorian said, "He's no good to me dead," which was kind of an obvious example of Boba Fett's quote in Empire, so I thought that was a little obvious, and honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I really wish Star Wars could stop doing this, but it's kind of what's to be expected at this point, so really not a huge deal. Just one of those nitpicky things that kind of make me cringe and laugh a little bit, but, you know, it's no big deal. I kind of just went off on a tangent there, but pretty much what I'm trying to say is I thought the main episodes did a great job at moving the plot along, despite not being perfect. I really thought the season moved along at a great pace and wrapped up in an appropriate manner. Finally, the last category are the filler episodes. For me, the filler episodes were 2, 4, 5, and 6. Now, I know filler episodes have kind of garnered a bad reputation, especially being used in a lot of shows like Naruto or other animes, where they just put in episodes that are totally do nothing for the plot and just waste time when they can't really think of anything. And a lot of these shows also have hundreds of episodes, so it's kind of to be expected. In terms of The Mandalorian, I thought the filler episodes were actually quite enjoyable, because it really allowed the series some room to play around a little bit and experiment with different actors, different places, themes, etc. It really just adds that element of fun and flexibility to the show, which personally I think is okay for a TV show. I think in a movie, you have to be a lot more concise with what you put in and what you leave out. But in a show like this, you have room to kind of, mess around and just give us episodes that are enjoyable on their own. They don't actually have to move the plot anywhere new or do anything. They just have to be enjoyable because, first and foremost, that's what it is. It's entertainment. And I really enjoyed the filler episodes for the most part. I think some were better than others. I think episode 5 was fairly weak. Episode 2, I guess, which was kind of an exposition one as well. Episode 4 was pretty alright. It told a self-contained story in and of itself, and that was pretty cool. But episode 6 was definitely my favorite of the filler episodes. I loved this episode. It was funny, It had great action. We got to see Bill Burr play a character which was honestly hilarious. It was just a lot of fun, and this is kind of the thing I want them to keep doing. Every 4 or 5 episodes, every 3 episodes, put in one like that is just kind of for fun. And I thought it was a really creative little story within a story, so that was great. Aside from the episodes being broken up into these main categories and the pacing and all that, there's some other things I'd like to mention. And the first thing is the cast, which I'm not going to go into a huge detail into, but I thought the cast was pretty great for the most part. I think Pedro Pascal is a great choice to play the Mandalorian, mainly because he has significant experience, but at the same time is not too well known. He's not an A-lister or a big-time movie star, and I think Star Wars has always been great. It's always excelled at giving these young actors chances to break out, and I really think he's going to do great. I've seen him in Narcos. I think he was a fantastic actor in that show, and I really can't think of anyone who's better suited to play the Mandalorian. I think there are plenty of actors that could have played him just as well, but I think there's no one really better suited to play him than Pascal. So I'm really excited to see how he develops that role in future seasons. The music kind of goes without saying. The music's fantastic, as it is in every Star Wars movie and TV show. Not done by John Williams this time, but I think this music is great. It's kind of mysterious, kind of dark, but at the same time exciting. It really just brings you into just a kind of a new Star Wars setting, something we're not as used to, kind of playing an anti-hero a little bit in The Mandalorian, and I think the music really is fitting to that. It's great to see Dave Filoni back as an occasional director and writer. While most of the episodes are written by Jon Favreau, it's really great to have those members that worked in the Clone Wars back to The Mandalorian, because I think their passion for Star Wars is amazing, and I love the Clone Wars. I think it's one of the greatest, actually the greatest Star Wars piece of media in general since the original trilogy, and I'd love to see if The Mandalorian can top them. Might be difficult to do, but I really have hope that The Mandalorian can be as good, if not better, than the Clone Wars. So we'll see how that turns out. Overall, like I mentioned before, I think the pacing was one of the biggest strengths of this show. Great mix of filler and story, action and dialogue. We have this present story as it pushes forward, but we also have a little bit of backstory. We discover things episode by episode, a little bit more about the Mandalorian's backstory. And his backstory might be a little cliche. Lost his family as a baby, was saved by Mandalorians. But still, there's really never a dull moment in the story. It doesn't focus too much on the past or too much on the future. It just kind of, you're right there in the present, and that's really entertaining. One thing I really loved about this show was how clean it was. How every character felt like they had a purpose, even if their role was small, and even if the character, wasn't too likable in general. I thought it was nice that whenever there's a character on screen, they're there for a reason, right? Which makes it feel just really clean. You know what's going on. You know who you're supposed to look at, who the focus is on. And I think it's one of the things they lose in the sequel trilogy, and you see it in Marvel movies and all sorts of movies today, that it's just, there's so many characters on screen, and it's just so messy. And this is one of those things that me and a friend were talking about, and he actually brought this up about a criticism of the Rise of Skywalker, how in all these scenes when they're planning their attacks, when they're planning their strategy, there's just 100 characters, and they all have to put in some stupid line, some joke, something, and it's just distracting, and it's annoying, and it's hard to focus on what's actually going on. In The Mandalorian, there's always a purpose for that character being there. Whatever they say somehow contributes to the story. Whatever they do contributes to the story. And I think that's really nice. I hope we can move more and more in that direction in the future of Star Wars and in movies and TV in general, because I think that's super important. Like I said, not all the characters are great. I liked most of them. You know, some were quite unlikable. I know people weren't a big fan of a certain SoundCloud rapper from episode 9. I think I'm in episode 5, but, you know, either way, guys, it's kind of too late into the video for me to really care. So, anyways, other points of this show that I really liked was the combat, the way they showed action in the show. It was gritty, it was realistic, it was easy to follow. It wasn't all the flipping around, fancy tricks and lightsabers and crazy powers. It was just good old-fashioned combat. It was freaking badass. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. It was great. Yeah, and I mean, I can't really talk about The Mandalorian without talking about Baby Yoda. And honestly, this isn't, I guess, really a point that I would usually bring up, but Baby Yoda's cuteness makes the show even better. And I know we have Ewoks and Porgs and even this bastard here, but Baby Yoda really takes the cake, and they might have done it for merchandising. Who knows? They probably did it. They probably did it to sell toys in the future, but he's really, really damn cute, and I also think he's a pretty cool character, seeing how he's super force sensitive, very powerful, yet has really no clue what he's doing. And, you know, we see him saving the Mandalorian, but as he kind of develops this trust and this bond with him, also being very protective. And we see him in that one scene, and honestly, I forget her name, but when they were arm wrestling and he force chokes her, and the look on his face, you know, he's definitely angry, and you see that, you know, how the Force is really just a raw, untapped power. It's really, and it's not like it's necessarily good or bad. It's just, it's there, and he doesn't know about it. He's just using his powers for, you know, what he thinks is right, or what, you know, what he thinks is right at the time. And that's something I would love to see them explore more. You know, kind of like the arc from the Clone Wars with the father and the son and the daughter, and I think it's called the Mortis arc, where they're on that planet exploring kind of the backstory and really the nature of the Force. And I hope we can see more of that in Baby Yoda as his character kind of grows and develops, and that would be really cool. So super excited for season 2. You know, maybe I'll make a video in the future if I watch through the show again about things I'm excited for season 2. Who knows? Other than that, I really want to make a video destroying the sequel trilogy, because as much as I love The Mandalorian, I think that's something I'm even more passionate or interested about, is just really kind of talking about the sequel trilogy in general now that it's wrapped up. And I haven't done a review of The Rise of Skywalker, so maybe I'll do that. Who knows? You know, hit the like button, comment below, and if you want to see it, maybe I'll do it. So other than that, that's really all I have. This video was probably kind of long. I kind of just went for it, and those are my initial thoughts. So see you guys next time. Peace.